Megan, welcome to the Law Firm Marketing Minute. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Smike.
For anyone watching that does not see the louder individual that's usually with me, Eddie, he's got a little too much on his plate right now. He's off this week, so it's just me and Megan, and really excited. I had penciled you in to have you as a guest for a while now because you're the office integrator. Obviously, let me introduce you. You're the VP of Spotlight Branding, the office integrator. You started off as director of ops, and you started before I started here. So from what I learned about you when you started was that you really transformed our ops department. You really kind of set up a lot of systems, a lot of processes to make it run like a well-oiled machine, basically, right?
That was the goal. Yeah.
Is that like a Southern phrase? Is that a well-oiled machine? How would you say it in a Southern phrase? Is there any Southern phrase?
You're just trying to get me to say oil, aren't you?
Oil?
Well-oiled machine. That
There
is
it is.
correct. Yes, but systems and processes.
Yeah.
SOPs.
Yeah. So okay, so obviously a system or process has to start from somewhere. And what is the system to create a system? Like how can law firms implement a new system? What's the first step that they would have to take in order to create a new system?
Yeah, I think for a law firm, it's just like any other business, right? They already have probably a rhythm or routine in their everyday business or operating procedures.
And they might not realize it.
And they might not realize it. That's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah,
because you actually haven't taken a step out and kind of done like a 30,000 foot view down.
Gotcha.
To see what that looks like. And so I think that you have to do that to identify the consistencies and the things that do occur over and over again. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is that like law firms, they could already have some sort of system, they just don't know it yet. They just don't realize.
Yeah, I mean the idea of the system is that if it's documented, it becomes a system, right?
So is it a chicken versus the egg? Is it a process before it's a system, or what comes first?
Oh, that's so hard. I would probably say the process is already there. You don't know it, but it needs to be clearly defined and documented.
And that's when it becomes a system.
That's when it becomes the system or the standard operating procedure.
Yeah. Have you always been like throughout your life just like very system oriented, or is it something that you kind of grew into, or?
Yeah, I'm wired that way. Even as a child, I was wired to kind of work through rhythms and routines. Even school kind of trains us to do that a little bit, but not everybody falls within that naturally.
I definitely wasn't the one. I was the one that was going woohoo, like, oh, my mind's over here now.
We all have superpowers, right? And I think my superpower has always been able to be not just like thrive within a structure, but also identify them and implement them where needed.
Yeah. Okay. So basically a law firm would need to have somebody probably that is kind of hardwired that way, right? I mean,
yeah.
They probably don't need it, but it probably makes it easier or simpler.
It probably does make it easier. I think the biggest thing is kind of, a lot of people either call this like their organization chart or an accountability chart. You can go and find a template for this pretty much like where you fill in the boxes so that it helps you identify what those things are so that you can put them into place and they become a repeatable, scalable option for the business. Yeah.
Gotcha. And that's a word that you just introduced to this podcast episode is scalable.
Yes.
So the system is scalable. The system helps you scale. And then that's so talking about scalability for a system, what's the benefit? Why should a law firm spend so much time or spend any time into creating, documenting, setting up a system?
Yeah, so that they're not the one wearing 20 hats all the time. A lawyer became a lawyer so that they could practice the thing that they're passionate about, which is the law, which is their practice area, which is helping their person on the other side that needs their services, not necessarily running the ins and outs and the day-to-day of the business, whether that be like the admin or the finance or even just the intakes and things like that. Yeah. They're really there to succeed in the thing that they went to school for, paid a lot of money for, and are really great at.
Yeah.
And so a scalable system is going to allow them to step out of all those other hats that aren't necessarily what they're good at or that they like.
Yeah.
And they can focus on doing the things that they want to do.
Gotcha. I got you. So basically it's to take the stress, take some stress off, take some of those tasks off that like maybe they don't even like to do,
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm sure there's got to be some lawyers out there that love handling like the finance of it, you know what I mean? Or they like creating content. They like, the marketing side of it. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, I'm sure you don't like everything that goes into a business because at the end of the day, they're a business. So yeah, I'm sure you don't like everything that goes into growing a small business.
And they may like doing it, but are they great at it?
True.
And can you be great at more than one thing at one time? No, not typically. So why not put 100% of your effort, focus, and energy into the thing that you're passionate and good at versus a couple of things that you might be all right at?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
So basically, like, right person, right seat.
Correct.
Yeah, and even though you like something, you might not be the right person, right seat.
Yeah. Like, for example, right now, marketing. I'm currently in the marketing seat, even though we're in the process of finding a new director. But it's marketing sexy, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I can do it pretty well, but I don't like to. So it's like operations and leadership and team development is really what I want to focus 100% of my time on, because I do get to create those systems for the next marketing director to thrive in, just like a lawyer finds like an amazing rock star for their office that helps with intakes or keeping their office running like a well-oiled machine so that they can actually like continue to focus on their clients and their cases and their preferred practice areas.
Okay, so for someone who's like a true solo right now and they're going to start hiring, they want to turn into a small law firm instead. They need people around them. So you just mentioned how you're creating systems for the future marketing director to kind of take over and thrive in. Okay, so when you're going through the hiring aspect of it, is that you're taking all those things into consideration in terms of like, you're like, okay, do I believe that this applicant will do well in the system? Or are you thinking more like, does the system, can the system be made better by this applicant? You know what I mean? Like, I guess it's like, which kind of way do you go about it? So you create a system, and are you now saying, okay, I think that this particular applicant would do well in it? Or are you saying, ooh, I like this particular applicant for what they offer, and I think that they could do well in the system that I created, but I think that they could probably expand and make an even better system? Like, what's like the mindset there?
That's a good question. I think I learned this a really long time ago in my previous industry that I worked in, is that the systems should not require you to hire extraordinary people, right? Especially when you're trying to scale a little bit, even if it's a small scale. So realistically, anybody should be able to come in, and you're hiring because they're trainable, and you can support them with the skills and the training that they need. Now, of course, just like a lawyer, every seat or role in a company requires a certain type of personality.
Sure.
And hopefully what is going to happen, though, is your application process is really going to attract the people that are best suited for that seat and those systems.
I got you. And then I guess that kind of just plays back to right person, right seat, right? I mean, you create the system that you believe will help whoever's in that seat thrive, and then You just kind of find the right person for that.
Yeah, it's not necessarily just an ingredient. I mean, anytime it comes to systems or processes or operations, it's truly a recipe, right?
Yeah.
There's multiple ingredients involved. It's a combo. It's a formula. It's not just like a one checkbox. There's multiple there.
I gotcha. So let's go back to your first days here at Spotlight Branding.
Yeah.
Director of Ops. What were some of the things that you kind of did like right off the bat in order to start creating new systems, new processes?
A production schedule or a production calendar. This is something that translates to every company, every business, every industry. Just to give context, I worked in the fitness industry previously, and our locations had like a production schedule and calendar as well. So when I came to Spotlight Branding, one of the things that I noticed is that our in-house writers, they are free thinkers. They are creatives.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing Eddie's not here. His head will get really big.
He would be spinning right now. Yeah. But they're free thinkers, but they don't actually necessarily have the ability to say, okay, I'm going to write in this format at this time in this structure because it needs to be done by then, right? And so they were just writing when they felt like it, and it was kind of like, nope. We need like a production calendar because there is an expectation of a deadline and a product to be delivered on time, right?
For sure.
And so identifying like, okay, first of all, let's do it when they feel most confident. So we shifted when their production time was more in the mornings versus in the afternoons so that they could give all of their effort to that. And then we set up like a guideline of how many pieces should you be doing a day? Or how many tasks should you be getting done in a day? And what are those tasks? Are they categorized? Are they task batched?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of managing your time in that production calendar, also batching your tasks correctly in that calendar so that you are hitting deadlines, you are delivering the product, but you're doing it within reason and you're not overworking, burning out. And, we even built in time for like ideation and brainstorming and meetings so that you're not constantly feeling like you're trying to squeeze a square peg in a round hole. Right. And so a production calendar is one of those things that you can immediately implement by knowing what your current rhythms are and then just tweaking them a little bit so that they fit and work smoothly.
I gotcha.
The cogs in the machine.
And like what's your expected length of time until like a production calendar really kind of starts falling into place, or is it depending on like the people that are kind of involved?
Well, for me, I didn't want to just come in and be like, hey, you're doing it this way.
Gotcha.
I needed to know what they were currently doing. So I gave myself, and we tell our new team members, because we always want input if we have something that's not working great. We always let them know, though, like, hey, your first 30 to 60 days, you don't get to change anything. Just be taking note, understanding why it is the way it is, how it was before, and what maybe it should be or could be before implementing change or identifying a different type of production. So I think that you got to know, and plus things over 30 to 60 days, you're going to start to recognize patterns
for sure
of the business, whether it be like an influx of sales or intake or a decrease in like a slower time of the year. You're going to start to notice your patterns over anywhere between 30 to 90 days total. That way you can define production.
I gotcha. Yeah. You mentioned that a production calendar helps a lot to prevent burnout. A lot of lawyers experience burnout, especially when they're working so many hours a week in such high stress situations. So production calendar, talk to me very specifically about a production calendar and the relation to helping to prevent burnout.
Yeah, a couple ways. First, it allows you to balance your workout across a period of time. And we go off of a calendar month. It also allows you to visually see where you have space to put things that may not be recurring or may pop up. So that you can be like, okay, I Tuesdays and Thursdays, there is no space for this. But I might be able to squeeze this in on like a Friday morning or on a Monday afternoon, so I don't have to do it on a Friday. So it's also a visual component of like, okay, this is where this fits, and penciling it in so that you're not over planning each day because you're like, I have to have it done by then. But then it also helps you identify deadlines. I think deadlines are a little bit different than due dates, which is how we operate here in Spotlight Branding. Like a due date is you kind of want to have it done by this time, so that it's off your plate. You're done thinking about it. Yeah. In case there might even be something that comes up after the fact, or someone else needs to work on a piece of it. But a deadline is when it's like your oh shit moment. Like you have to have it done by then, and there's just no fluff. So it helps you identify your due dates and deadlines to work on things.
You know, that kind of reminds me of so obviously we just did an episode with Mark about creating an effective marketing plan, and the way you were describing the calendar reminded me of creating a marketing plan in terms of, hey, just pencil stuff in, and it's okay if it doesn't play out that way, but at least just have something down, just have some sort of direction, have some sort of basically a goal in mind, right? Like, hey, I want to get this done by this date, and obviously the due date versus the deadline. I want to get done by this date. This date is like cut off, like, you know, like this is the final day. So that kind of reminded me of that in terms of, like, you know, we were talking about in the episode with Mark, we were talking about how just a lot of law firms just don't have a marketing plan in general. Like they just don't have one. They just kind of fly by the seat of the pants. And this is very relatable in terms of a production calendar, because I'm sure that most lawyers are probably very organized, I would hope.
Yeah.
But based on your experience, your talks with lawyers, do you believe that most lawyers have a production calendar or don't?
It's doubtful. It's doubtful. And you saying that actually made me think of, do lawyers fly by the seat of their pants before they have to go to court or mediation or have to go to the finish line of a case that they're working on? That's doubtful too. They probably prepare to that, right? But they probably don't have it written down or scheduled unless they're highly organized people. Yeah. And so it's like, but they have a plan in place to meet that finish line, right? Yeah. And so whatever formula of success has gotten them to that type of approach to their practice is they should apply that same exact thing to production, to marketing, to whatever other pieces of their business. And instead of them doing it, though, they apply their approach and they hire the people to do it for them.
Oh, there you go. So what's a good system? What's a good process that you would recommend if you had, like, you know, to just kind of explain it in a couple minutes? What's a good system or process to get started into a production calendar?
Like printing out a couple calendar months, maybe 3, so that you can write down the things that you know always happen at the same time and when they happen, so that you can immediately identify your recurring responsibilities or your recurring patterns. And then you're going to start to build your positions and the people you hire. You're going to start building your office operations, or even just your personal, like, schedule a little bit more around that, so that you don't always feel like you're scrambling or running around.
I gotcha. And what piece of advice would you give to lawyers who, you know, the ones that are doing everything by themselves and are starting to drown a little bit? What's your pitch to them if they were to be sitting across the table from you right now? Yeah,
if they feel like they're drowning, you're not alone, but there's also someone out there that I guarantee is willing to help you look at it from an outside looking in, which is going to be the best opportunity for you to slow down for a minute. Because when you're in it, you're in a tunnel, so you can't you can't take that 30,000 square foot or that 30,000 foot view down, right? Yeah. And as a business owner, you've got to be able to step out and do that. But the first time you do it, you probably need to do it with someone. It could be a family friend. It could be another colleague. It could be somebody that might be a few years ahead of you or in a different stage of their business than you, so that they can say, okay, I'm looking in from the outside. Let me help walk you through these things so that we can get those identified for you. Don't do it alone. recruit some help.
Yeah. And that you mentioned being in like a tunnel. That's a great vision, like, because it's like a mental cage basically, right? Because in a tunnel, right? Like, and this is a completely metaphorical tunnel because at the end of the day, like, a lot of people don't realize that they can get out of that tunnel. They don't have to, all you see in the tunnel is the light at the end of it, right? You don't see any other light coming through.
Yeah.
And it's just you alone in that tunnel. All you see is the light at the end of it. And a lot of them will just keep on pushing until they hit that light, which sometimes is, never comes. So like that tunnel that you're in is absolutely a metaphorical mental cage that they're in. And that's very interesting metaphor there. What, if you had to give any other piece of advice that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, I think there's a matter of just working smarter, not harder. There's this idea of like when you're a business owner, you've got to work really hard. And there's no doubt you do. You have to work really hard to get to where you want to. But there's definitely ways to work smarter, even though sometimes working smarter is working harder, right? Yeah. And that's something I've carried. Sure. Yeah, and I've carried that forever and ever. And it's a matter of like the quicker you identify smarter ways to work within your business and remove the pieces that you shouldn't have to be managing, or even just like automating them. If you can automate them so that you can still focus on those other things more than the pieces that you don't like or you shouldn't be doing, you're going to be working smarter, not harder. You're going to be working a little bit faster. The speed of the leader is the speed of the team. So as soon as your team starts growing, they're only going to go as fast as you go.
Very true. Very true. I love that. The speed of the leader is the speed of the team. That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, Megan, I appreciate you being on the episode.
Absolutely.
Thank you for everyone listening, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.